Hi everyone, and welcome back to Enchanted Reiki. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how you as the practitioner or as a Reiki master can give the best Reiki treatment that you possibly can. So we're going to start with how to find a client and how to talk to the client before they book their session with you, how to make sure that they feel comfortable coming to you, all the way through to the actual session itself. We're going to be doing the in-person session as opposed to a distant Reiki session, although you can take some of the information here and apply it to distant Reiki as well, all the way to like aftercare as well. So we're just going to make sure that the client is fully satisfied, gives you a really nice, lovely testimonial, and make sure that they feel that they benefited from your session. So first and foremost, I think as the practitioner or as the master, you need to make sure that you first of all feel comfortable and feel confident that you can give a good treatment. You don't want to start opening a business or start charging people for Reiki and feel any kind of imposter syndrome. Now, I will say if you've been attuned to Reiki, then you are a Reiki practitioner, and therefore you should not feel anything like this at all. You shouldn't feel any imposter syndrome or that you're not good enough or anything like that. And if you do, then just know that this is just something that you personally need to work on, and it's not a reflection on your abilities as a Reiki practitioner. And if you still feel that you need more practice, then go ahead and offer to do Reiki for people for free, or just do loads and loads of daily treatments for yourself, self-treatments, which is a really important part of being a Reiki practitioner, actually, is to make sure that you're giving yourself Reiki treatments, if not daily, then at least a couple times a week. So first and foremost, once you have your client, and there are many ways that you can find clients, word of mouth is probably the best and easiest and most affordable way. You just give Reiki to your friends, and maybe they'll let their friends know and stuff like that. Even clients will often bring you in other clients. I've had sisters come to me, friends of my existing clients, and that's how they found me. Alternatively, you can use social media, Instagram, Facebook, even put up ads in, there are a few different places. I've never actually paid for an ad, but in the UK, there is kind of like a Reiki directory. And when I had my physical business, I definitely used them, and quite a few people found me through there. Also, and just the very lastly, because that's not exactly what this entire video is about, but I'll just touch on doing charity work. So I got a few of my clients actually from holding a charity event in memory of my cat who passed away. Her name was Belle, and so the vet that we used to always go to, it's a charity vet, and so I asked them if I could put a poster up in their in their kind of waiting room, and any profits that I got that day I just gave to them. It was for charity, so they let me do that, and I ended up getting quite a few repeat clients and also some Reiki students from that as well. So very long intro into how to give a proper Reiki treatment. So the first thing that you want to make sure of when the client comes to you is that your room is adequate. And by that, I mean there needs to be a space for them to lie down or sit down in a comfortable position, and you yourself also need to be very, very comfortable as well. You could have anything from just an ordinary chair, and then you would need a chair for yourself as well, all the way to an actual Reiki couch. It's kind of like a massage table, that kind of thing. It's pretty much the same thing. There's usually a hole for the face at the top if they are lying down on their front. If you want to work on their back, I find that most of the time people will just lie on their back, and then I'll do the entire body that way. But I personally wouldn't recommend doing Reiki on the floor or on a bed, because for me, I found it quite uncomfortable. I do have some lower back pain from time to time, and I don't like being in certain positions if they're lying on a bed and the bed is low, and it's just not very comfortable. With a Reiki couch or a Reiki table, it's usually hollow underneath. It's like an actual table, so you can put your legs underneath when you're sitting on a chair. So it's a lot more comfortable. So once you have your Reiki client, the first thing you want to do is before they actually come to your session, you want to make sure that if they've never had a treatment before, that they are that they know exactly what's going to happen. Basically, some people, I've never had this happen personally, but I've heard stories of people thinking that they had to remove all of their clothing down to their underwear. Make sure that your client knows that the only things that they have to remove are their shoes and their coat or any kind of outer garments. Also, if they have any other questions, it's best to answer those before the treatment time, because it saves you both time, especially if you have other clients coming in. Then you don't have to go over into their time answering the your current clients' questions. So make sure all the questions are out of the way. Make sure that they feel comfortable and they know exactly how to get to you as well. Give them any directions, anything like that, and just make sure that they feel very reassured. When they arrive at your location, make sure that you have a comfortable place for them to sit or lie down as you're doing the Reiki treatment. Make sure that you yourself are also comfortable. The last thing you want to do is look up at the time, you've still got 40 minutes left and your back is aching because you're leaning over them in a really uncomfortable position. Perhaps you've got them on a bed, and it's really quite awkward to give someone Reiki on a bed unless you are also sitting on the bed, which then makes it very unprofessional. So that's fine. Like if I'm giving Reiki to my mom and she's lying on the bed, I will sit on the bed as well. I might lean on her. That's my mom, or even my daughter as well. But when it's a client, a paying client, you don't want to be like leaning your elbow on them, and you don't really want to be on the bed or on the Reiki couch with them. If you have a Reiki couch, that's probably the most comfortable for you, because when you're sitting down the table, there's enough space for you to put your legs underneath, so you're actually sitting almost like on a desk, so it's much more comfortable. And if you're standing, you just adjust it to the right height for your height. When they come in, again, make sure that they feel reassured, make sure that they feel comfortable. If the client seems a little bit nervous, just make sure that they feel comfortable. Answer any other questions. They may have some other questions that they didn't think of at the time of booking the session. Also, I just want to jump back. When they're booking the session, there may be some things that you want to ask them. They are not obliged whatsoever to answer any kind of medical questions, medical history, anything like that. I do put that in the form and I say it's optional. You don't have to tell me. It's not important whatsoever, but some people like to share that information. They feel it helps. And the only thing that I would actually get from the Reiki client would be an emergency contact, just in case. Not that you would be doing anything wrong, but you just don't know what people have, what kind of ailments they may have, or illness or sickness, and anything could happen at any time. And it's not necessarily that you're doing anything wrong, but just for an emergency, because they are currently under your care. So I always get an emergency contact from them. The other things to kind of keep in mind as well, I always have 2 pillows or 2 cushions and a light blanket. So the first pillow, if they're lying down on their back, the first pillow goes under the head, and on top of the pillow I'll put some tissue paper to protect the pillow and also protect the client as well. It's for hygiene purposes, and that's the same reason why you want to take shoes off as well on the Reiki couch, for hygiene purposes. The second pillow goes underneath their knees, so it helps to align their body a little bit more, and it prevents lower back pain, I've found, if you put a cushion underneath the knees. If they're lying on their front, then you can put the cushion. You want to remove the one at the head, or then their neck is in this weird, awkward position. If you have a Reiki couch or like a massage table with a hole in it, pop the hole out and pop the thing out to make it a hole so they can put their face in. I have these tissue papers that are made specifically for this purpose, and they're round tissue papers. They are for that area, and there's a hole in the tissue paper, so they put their face in. It keeps everything hygienic, it keeps their face clean, and it keeps your couch clean as well. I found also that the Reiki tables, if you have your head in them, you end up with like a circle on your face, and that's not nice. So what I will do as well is I will put some towels, tuck some towels under, a couple of towels through the holes, and then underneath the Reiki table there's usually like some wires and things just to help when it folds, and I tuck it in and it seems to work really well. And then I put the tissue paper on top, so it's nice and soft for them as well. As for the cushion, I would only use one cushion. You could use two actually, but I would put it just under the ankles. So now they're lying on their front, and so you put it underneath their ankles, and this kind of helps with their feet position. The other place that you could put the second cushion is under their hips. Now this is just a personal choice. I sometimes suffer from lower back pain, and even just sleeping, I find that putting a cushion or a hot water bottle, even if it's not hot anymore, just something nice and firm under my hips really helps with the lower back. So if they have lower back problems, which they might do if they're lying on their front and they want you to work on your back, then that's another option for you. As for the blanket, make it quite a thin blanket. Mine is a very thin one. It's just from IKEA, and the reason why you want to have a blanket is for security. Most people feel very vulnerable and exposed when they're just lying down, even though they are fully clothed. So it's nice for them to have a thin blanket. You don't want them to overheat, so that's why I recommend a thin one. It's not necessarily for warmth. The second reason why you want it to be thin is that you still need to be able to see the outline of their body, so that you know where you are giving Reiki, if you're doing the chakras, or if they want a specific area, and especially if they asked for a hands-on treatment, because you want to make sure that if you are putting your hands on someone, it's not anywhere that's inappropriate. So yeah, so you do definitely want to see the shape of their body, so a thin blanket is really good as well. Before you start the session, again, make sure that they're comfortable. There is nothing worse than going for a treatment or something like for your first time, or your first time with a specific person, and you're not comfortable because you're just kind of a little bit nervous. You just want to make them feel at ease. And also, one thing that I've found, especially with new clients, anyone who hasn't had a Reiki treatment before, is they're usually kind of worried about, what if I fall asleep? Is this going to work? Do I need to force myself to stay awake? Again, reassure them that they can just relax, and if they fall asleep, that's fine, and if they don't, that's also fine, and if they're in that in-between state, that's fine too. Another thing that I've noticed with some people is they get a little bit worried, or get I don't know what the word is or how you would describe it, but they're always kind of a little bit anxious as to when you finish, because they don't want to be lying there and then you're done. And so I find towards the end, people tend to kind of like peek, and they're like, are we done yet, kind of thing. So again, make sure at the beginning, just say to them, just relax. If you fall asleep, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. And I will let you know once the treatment is over. Don't worry if you don't feel me. If you can't feel my hands on you, don't worry. I'm still doing Reiki. Just relax, and I promise I will let you know. You probably don't have to promise. You don't have to give that much of a reassurance, but just tell them that you will let them know once the treatment is over. And obviously, when you do let them know, be gentle, because they're probably like in that kind of theta brainwave. For me, I usually tap them on the shoulder, or even just touch their shoulder. I don't do this tapping. I just touch them on the shoulder and I whisper. I said, the treatment's over now. Take your time. Get up whenever you're ready. And that's it. And you don't want them to feel like, okay, it's over now, and then, be too bouncy, because then they feel like they need to get up really quick. Just say, whenever you're ready, you can get up. Once they do get up, make sure that you have some water for them, offer them some water, and just advise them to continue to have plenty of fluids during the day as well. And if you are running a business, perhaps you want to ask them at that point if they want to schedule in another appointment if they haven't done so already. If they don't want to, that's fine. Just make sure they know how to contact you, how to find you again. If it went particularly well, listen to their feedback. And if they give really good feedback, then you may want to ask them if they wouldn't mind writing a testimonial or a review for you, if you have a website or a business, or even if you just want to keep the information for yourself. If you're just doing it for a friend, just as your own record. So that's my advice on how to give a good Reiki treatment. A few other things that I could say would be, if the client specifically tells you that they have any problems, like a physical problem, then focus on that area, because and give it more focus than everything else. If you're doing the chakras and they say, I've got a really bad stomach ache, or I've got period cramps or something like that, go down at a reasonable pace and spend more time in the area that they've asked for, because if you don't, they'll feel like you're just running some sort of conveyor belt, just, doing the same thing, and you're not listening to them. So do spend more time on an area that they have asked you to. If they've come for mental or emotional support, spend time on their shoulders. I feel like if it's a mental issue, the head and shoulders, and if it's an emotional issue, the head and the heart. And then the last piece of advice I would say is if they ask for a hands-off treatment, then you do the entire thing hands-off. Again, let them know that they may not feel the heat or the Reiki, but it's still working. Some people don't feel it. If they specifically asked you for a hands-on treatment, when you get to an area that is inappropriate for you to actually place your hands on them, I would suggest, now it's entirely up to you, you don't have to do this, but this is what I do. So if I'm on, say I'm doing the heart chakra and I don't want to place my hands on someone here, I'll have my hands a few inches off here, but I may actually place my physical hand on my other physical hand directly onto their neck or their chest or their stomach, just so that they can feel that I'm always there, even if I'm doing an area that there shouldn't be any physical contact. I'm still in contact on a different area, and I feel that helps to reassure them and lets them know that you are still there. So that's my advice. If you have any other questions, make sure you leave them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.